So in the last video, what we spoke about, what we looked at was the recovery of the Weimar government from 1924 to 1928. Obviously, what happens after that, in 1929, in October of 1929, you get the Wall Street crash, a massive turning point in the course, and a moment in which the support for the Nazi Party will now start to increase. So all that reorganization that Hitler does in 24 to 28 is now going to pay off when the German economy tanks and the Weimar government begins to struggle. So let's have a look at the context. Weimar Germany's recovery had been built on American loans. Their economy had been dancing on a volcano. In 1929, you have the Wall Street crash and the American economy collapses. This led to a Great Depression, as in like economic depression. American banks therefore recalled the loans that they'd given to Germany, and this led to businesses in Germany closing. Job losses, as well as reduced opportunities for the young and the working classes. If I'm a young person in Germany now, I become very disillusioned about what my future prospects are. The Weimar government was weak and failed to deal with the crisis. They were determined not to print more money like they'd done in 1923 to avoid hyperinflation, which forced them into other methods, which we'll look at when we get to the story of the chancellors. So, the Weimar government was weak, fails to deal with the crisis at its peak, and unemployment reaches 6 million by 1932. Therefore, Nazism became a much more attractive proposition to the poverty-stricken. Now, Hitler can make that simple promise of work and bread, Arbeit und Brot, and it will resonate with people. Whereas before, when people had work and bread, if Hitler comes along and the Nazis come along and say, we will give you work and bread, nobody cares, they've already got it. Now, because people are desperate, we will see them start to turn to extremist answers. So, Weimar's response to the Wall Street crash. Stresemann dies before the crash happens in 1929, so there's no strong government leadership. Meant coalition governments couldn't solve the problem. Remember, that goes all the way back to the weaknesses of the Weimar Constitution, in which votes can't get passed, so you keep having these short-lived coalition governments. Brüning, therefore, who was Chancellor at the time, at the start of the Wall Street crash, or when the Wall Street crash happened, asked Hindenburg to use Article 48, dictatorial power. So from 1930 onwards, Germany is effectively no longer a democracy. The Reichstag don't meet regularly because when they do, they can't get anything passed because of the weaknesses of proportional representation. The Weimar government were determined to learn the lessons of 1923, so they don't print more money. So what they decide to do is, at a time when people were already struggling, the Weimar government raises taxes, and corresponding with this, they also reduce wages and cut unemployment benefit. Remembering people had been paying into that unemployment system, whereby they paid in a certain amount of marks each month, and it meant if they did find themselves unemployed, they could have some money back from the government to tide them over. The government now cuts that benefit. So massive frustration for the people of Germany, and the Nazis are going to pounce on these weaknesses. So the way the Weimar government deals with the Wall Street crash causes them problems. So for one, they raise taxes, reduce wages, and cut unemployment benefit. This leaves the Nazis in a position where they can exploit the vulnerability and the weakness of the Weimar government through their propaganda. And they sort of launch, as well as the reorganization that we spoke about, now they launch sort of a three-pronged attack based around Hitler's appeal, the essay, and Goebbels' propaganda skills. So, Hitler's appeal is presented as a hero in posters and rallies, remembering ever since his trial in 1923, he has been sort of the figurehead, the symbol of national resistance, of opposition to the Weimar Republic. Now they can push that image more. The campaign's focused on his personality and skills, particularly as an orator, his magnetism. He realizes that what he needs to do is stick to the main issues and provide the German people with scapegoats, somebody to blame for their problems. So, for example, if the issue is depression, he just says, we'll fix unemployment. Who do we blame? The Weimar Republic, the Jews, communists, and corrupt politicians, the November criminals. Why? Well, they stabbed us in the back when they signed the Treaty of Versailles. It's very simple, isn't it? So what promises does he make? We will unite all Germans and make Germany strong and rich again. How are we going to do it? by destroying the Treaty of Versailles and communism. He also vows to remove all Jews from German society because they are responsible for all of Germany's problems. These are all things that he said in Mein Kampf. Hitler was also very flexible in his approach, so he would change ideas quick if he was losing support in certain areas. If all else failed, he would make vague promises such as "we'll make Germany great again." So what he does is he arrives to give a speech, and based on the crowd reaction, if they respond particularly well to certain types of his policies, he will speak about those policies more. If they don't respond to those policies, he speaks about a different policy that does get a positive reaction. So he's a very skilled public speaker who can adapt his message to get support. In addition to that, you get the use of the Sturmabteilung, the SA. The work of the SA increased support in positive and negative ways. For example, in the positive way, the brown shirts are at this point more disciplined than before. This is shown through their parades, and fighting qualities attracted many unemployed and unhappy young people in chaotic times. You have over 500,000 members by 1932, 600,000 in the year 1932. And it's this idea of the SA looking organised, strength and organisation in a time of complete chaos in Germany makes the SA look good. However, they still do have some negative influences, and participants in the SA, obviously an organisation of over 500,000 people, 600,000, you can't control all of them. So what this means is some of these, some elements of the SA still embark in intimidation. They are seen as bullies by some voters. They attacked rival group meetings still, especially of the Communist Party. And sometimes the SA even acted independently of Hitler, as in sometimes some members of the SA were a law unto themselves. Propaganda campaigns. Obviously, these are orchestrated by Joseph Goebbels. Work and bread. Very simple promise. Work and bread. Arbeit und Brot for workers. Nazis will provide the necessities. It's a very simple, very effective promise which resonates with people who have nothing. They simply have the title on the posters, which you've seen: Hitler, our last hope. Hitler is the fix-all solution to everything. No matter what your background is, the solution to your problem is Adolf Hitler. You also get the Hitler über Deutschland campaign, or Hitler over Germany. Flying Hitler around, again, it seems basic to us now because everybody does it, but flying Hitler around all over Germany. The key thing here being what they've recognised, obviously, is Hitler's massive draw, is his magnetism, his skills as an orator. So what they want to do, they don't just want him on the radio or in newspapers, they want people to physically, literally be able to see him. So this maximises his skills as an orator and makes him look like a man of the people. Goebbels and his propaganda method. You get posters, which are good because, one, they're cheap to produce, but also he can change what type of poster to appeal to what group of people, depending on where those posters are going up. So in a working class area, he'll put up posters promising, employment and bread. If it's in a more middle class area, he'll put up posters promising that the Nazis can destroy communism. So they're cheap, and also the messages can change depending on the area and the background of the socioeconomic background of people who will see it. The Nazis also use the radio as propaganda. It's very powerful because it's literally like Hitler in your living room, isn't it? We also know as well, as I've mentioned, Hitler's skills are his public speaking, so you want his voice heard, not just in print, you want it heard. Newspapers. Each newspaper has its own character and was designed to appeal to different groups in society. So they've got like a working class newspaper, a middle class newspaper, and a newspaper aimed at big business. So then effectively what they're trying to do, as they do even with the name of the party, is please everyone. They promise to be all things to all people. You also get the hugely impressive Nazi Party rallies. This is a show of order in chaos. It's a show of prestige. It makes the organisation look aspirational. It's a show of strength when Germany is in complete chaos. Hitler over Germany campaign also allowed Hitler to speak directly to thousands in one day, utilising his oratory skills. So what we get here is the idea of buying into the skill of the Nazi propaganda. It's that phrase, negative cohesion. Positive promises and negative cohesion. What it means is identifying what people's problems are and promising to fix them. So use fear to unite and promised good in return. For example, the upper classes were afraid of communism, so Hitler promises to destroy communism. For workers, Hitler promised more rights and better jobs. So identify what people don't like and present yourself as the solution to it.